So we're back on the Sierra here again. As of last I checked, it's only running on 4 cylinders out of 8 cylinders. So what I did is I ordered a set of injectors for it. Set of those guys, they're not Delphi, but they are a exact replacement aftermarket. Based on our testing before, all the cylinders have good compression. And they all have spark, so we're down to either a fuel problem with the injectors or the valves aren't opening to allow the fuel air mixture into the cylinder. So first thing I'm going to do is just revisit what I did before and try a bit of liquid fire when it's running and see if more cylinders start to run, and if that's the case then we know it's just they're not getting fuel, but the valves are still opening because the fuel air is allowed to get into the cylinder. So I'm going to do that first, fire it up and put some liquid fire in there. I think I have to crack one of these guys open again. So by doing that, we've still got the mass airflow sensor in the air circuit, so the computer shouldn't be yelling about anything. I say that, but it's always yelling about something. So I'm going to fire it up. And we'll try some quick start in there and see if it runs better. So based on that, it actually only appears to be running on 3 cylinders, which is not what it was doing before. But I managed to damage one of these friggin' coil plug sockets already. So they're so flimsy, if you don't put it on exactly straight, you bend it. So next thing then is we're gonna pull off the plug on the injector on the front cylinder on this side, because I know it's running, and probe the injector and see if we can hear a click. If we can, then we know that one is functional and that's the way it should behave. Now whether it's fully open or not, that's a different story. But then we'll do the next one in the line, which I know is not running, and probe it. And if it doesn't click, we know that the solenoid is likely stuck, which is why it's not opening. So let's just try the first one here that I know is running. So I can get to the plug. Like that. This is the one that I damaged before and I tried to fix it. So let's give it ground first. That, and then we'll just touch the positive to it and see if there's any clicking sound. There should be. And let's do this the other way. Try not to have the bare positive here short to anything while I'm doing this. Oh, like that. I don't know if they have polarity or not. May very well. This thing is horrible. Can't tell if I'm making connection at all. And it may be too soft of a click for us to be able to hear when this injector is still in the block. No, I guess that's not going to work. Either I'm not making connection or the solenoid clicking is too soft to be able to hear, which I don't think is the case, so I'm probably just not making physical connection with it. So I guess, unfortunately, the next thing we're into is pulling the new fuel tube we put in last time, and then pulling the fuel rails off, and then we can pull injectors. So that's got all 4 injectors unplugged on the passenger side, and then do the same on the driver's side. I'm getting rid of all these stupid secondary catch clips. They just make it a miserable thing to try and remove. Once you get those off, then it's a piece of cake to unplug the injectors. The only problem that still remains is actually being able to physically get your hand on them, because of course, again, you can't access anything without pulling a bunch of junk off. There we go. Alright. Oh, man. Horrible. Absolutely horrible. So, all 8 injectors are unplugged. So we gotta remove the fasteners for that upper wire bundle bracket again, because you can't get the upper fuel tube off without doing that. Allow us to get the top fuel tube out, and I'm going to completely blow the whole top of the engine with compressed air before we start opening up any fuel, because injection systems like this will not tolerate any dirt. That could be part of the injector problem we're having, is when I put that tube on, some of the rust dust went inside the fuel rails, and that just plugs the injector right up. So we'll make sure everything's as sterile as we can. That's free now, and that's free. Should give us enough height to get the tube out of there. I think we'll start with the passenger side, keep the driver side fuel rail together. Start with, get the passenger side apart, get all 4 injectors out, see if we can then bench test them. And I guess realistically you should be able to see, maybe not, you should be able to see it open, but it only opens, a couple of thou to let the fuel spray out, so we might not be able to physically see it. But we'll hopefully be able to test a little better as to whether the one that works actually moves and the other one don't, or they all move, in which case on the cylinders that aren't running, it's a valve is not opening all the way. So then we're into pulling the valve cover and seeing what's happening in there. So we're gonna give a good blow all across the top of the intake and where all the injectors are, and then we'll start pulling the rail again. Well, thinking based on the condition of that first injector clip, as I sliced myself, might just all break off. So I'm glad the new injectors came with new clips, because these ones that hold the fuel rail to the injector are pretty much toast. Like, it shouldn't be able to do that. So luckily we got new clips coming with the new injectors. Ow. This first one, for whatever reason, doesn't want to move. Need one of those man hoists that allow you to hang over top of the engine, chest down, and then I can be able to do this a lot easier. Well, I got it. That one's toast as well. And then back to this first one. So, all four clips are off on the passenger side now. Time to get the crossover tube off out of the way now. So now we just have to crack loose the two mounting bolts for the passenger side fuel rail. I'm hoping the rail will come off the injectors fairly easily. Or we could just pull the injectors out, I guess that's fine too. Oh, and dump gas all over myself. Okay. Alright, so what I'd really like to do is plug those 4 holes, because while we're not dealing with injector tolerances at that point, we still don't want any pieces of debris going in there that could either damage a valve seat or block a valve open. So I'll get some shop towel here and plug those up. And also by doing this, when I go to take them out, I'll twist them some more to clean the opening for the injector as well. And 4. So now the engine is protected. The fuel crossover tube, I'm not too worried, we'll blow that out before we put it back on. So now we can actually take a closer look at this driver's side, or sorry, passenger side injector rail, and how the injectors come out and all that jazz. So I'll start by dumping all the gas out here, I guess. We don't need that. Based on the amount of rust and dark colored fuel that came out of this fuel rail, I'd say we're going to have to do a fairly extensive cleaning on it once we get the injectors out. So I believe, make sure you can see what I'm doing here, I believe the injectors are just O-rings inside here, so we should be able to just requires a little more force than I can apply to it with just my hands. Oh my goodness. There's probably a special tool you can put in there to help pop them out. You don't want to break off the plastic tabs. That's what the spring clips hook over. Just try a little bit with this screwdriver first. I don't want to can't afford to break the plastic rail at all. Oh, dump gas all over my flashlight, that's good too. Whoa, do that. These injectors must be pretty tired. One of the plastic tabs just broke off without me even really trying very hard. So is there an easier way to get this out of here without breaking things? Probably if I could put the fuel rail in a vise, it would be, oh boy. I already dumped this out, why is there more coming out of it? Well, I'd say there's nothing wrong with the injectors. It's all this. I'm sure you can actually see what I'm talking about. Oh, it's all this sludge. What's on my hand was inside the fuel rail. So chances are all these injectors are likely okay. They're just completely gummed up because of all the sludge that's in there. So that is, I should keep track of which is which. That is the backmost cylinder. Oh, those are not easy to get in and out. I can't show you just because of the way I'm doing it, but all I'm doing is grabbing the injector and pulling and wiggling against and pushing against the rail. And they do come out, they're just very stiff, which I guess makes sense. We're talking about 60 psi of fuel pressure that has to not leak. So I could probably be using a rag to save my hands here, but so this last one here is the only one that was functioning before I took it apart, and it's not nearly as dirty, so that may be why it was still working. That's the one that was working. So the rail here though is going to need a complete flushing, probably with Varsol, to get all the rust and everything out of it. Very, very sludgy inside. So I want to try power again now. We need complete silence. Let's see if we can hear it trying to click or anything. So I know this one's good. Likely won't be able to hear it on camera, but there is a clicking and a little bit of a vibration in it, and I can see bubbles pulsing in the end. So I know the one that was working is good, which makes perfect sense. So I'm gonna go to the next one then. I know was not firing. Just looking at there's supposed to be 4 jet holes in the end of there. There's sludge coming out of those. And that end, you're not gonna be able to see it, but it is just packed completely full of sludge. So that's why this one's not working, because it's so gummed up. I'm guessing because when we replaced that fuel crossover tube from the driver's side to the passenger side, it was very, very rusty. So I'm only guessing that the inside was full of shale as well, and that was sending that to the injectors. So I can hear this. This is second one on the passenger side bank. I can hear it sparking, but no clicking, so I'm sure it's seized, gummed up from the rust sludge that was in there. So that was why that one's not working, because it won't open. So third one back works now. Now whether it was working before and just was plugged, or whether it wasn't moving until I freed it up there, but so far first and third on this side are working at this point. And this one works fine too. So the only one so far that doesn't actually work is the second one on this side, and I'll try it again here. Trying, so I would say it's seized up inside with sludge, but 3 out of the 4 on that side do work. Just the third and fourth that still function were plugged full of sludge. The only one that was running the cylinder was the first one, because it didn't have a whole lot in it. All the rust and sediment must have been washed to the back of the rail. Should just do a quick check that the injectors that I bought are the same as the ones that I just took out. Otherwise, we're not putting them in. So they look identical, except for these new injectors I got only have 2 spray ports in the end, instead of 2 larger ones instead of 4 smaller ones. So I don't know if that's a performance increase or decrease, or whether it's just that they're meant for a different application of this engine, but I'll put them in and try them. I don't see why it wouldn't work. Just it might be a different injector spray pattern, which is going to result in a different process of burning the fuel, whether it be, like I said, higher performance or lower performance. Don't know that much, but other than that, they look to be identical, which is the important part. So what I'm going to do now is I got to flush out this rail somehow. Flush out the injector rail here of all the sludge and sediment. I think I'm probably going to start with Varsol. So I'm going to do that. There's no point in trying to film that for you. I'm going to go flush out the rail, and then we'll come back and put new injectors in the passenger side here, and then move on to the driver's side, and I'm assuming we're going to find the same thing, where the main reason that the one on the driver's side isn't operating is because it's full of rust sludge. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll be back.